Hey everyone, it's Andy with the Reverb Tone Report, and today I'm checking out the next wave of UAFX pedals. And there's everything from dual compression to spaced out ambient delay and reverb and even multi-head tape echo. So let's check them out. Universal Audio has once again made the crossover from plug-in to pedal a smooth process with the Galaxy 74 tape echo and reverb, max preamp and dual compressor, and the Del-Verb, an ambient stompbox combining favorites from the Starlight Echo Station and Golden Reverberator. Each pedal has an easy control set, yet dual engine processing for true stereo and limitless options. The Galaxy provides every feature from the original Space Echo, including multiple tape head combinations, the same response of the reverb tank, and most importantly, the juicy preamp for extra tape saturation and space-bound oscillation. The Del-Verb includes 3 delays and 3 reverb types, which can be combined any way you want. Just like their plugins, Universal Audio have captured every nuance in the 3 reverb modes, which cover the bounce and tube clipping of American amp spring tanks, the haunting decay of real 50s studio plates, and mesmerizing recreations of the Digital Hall 224 reverb from the late 70s. Finally, the Max Preamp and Dual Compressor pedal combines many of Universal Audio's beloved studio pieces like the 1176, LA2A, and the 610 Tube Preamp. 2 compressors provide not just extreme sustain, but pleasing harmonic crunch that'll make you leave your overdrive somewhere else. Like the other UAFX, these pedals connect to the UAFX Control app for extra parameters, alt reverb voicings, and global settings like tap tempo. Look for these authentic emulations and the growing UAFX pedal lineup right here on Reverb. Alright, so let's start off with the Galaxy, and I'm just going to run through all the characteristics that I look for in a tape echo simulation. So let's start off with the input preamp, which is actually affecting the wet signal. So the analog dry-through is going through completely, so you could keep that nice and clean and have the repeats be a nice contrast and get grungy or bright or however you want to set it. You also hear that slow wow and flutter in there, and that's because we're using a slow, kind of a motor speed here. So let's go over to the second head and kind of dial in that same exact delay time, but since we're going to find that in a higher speed, the modulation is actually faster. So this is, kind of the thing that we're paying attention to when they're emulating this classic tape echo. And we could further shape the tone of the repeats by going to the alternate switch, and the bottom right knobs are bass and treble just like the original unit. So that treble really opens up the fidelity of those repeats, and you could back things off on the bass and get more of a classic, sort of Echoplex style sound. And while we're adjusting those alternate parameters, let's adjust the tape age, which is going to introduce even more modulation. It's going to change the kind of warped quality and even give you some dropout in higher settings. And let's try this with a dual head configuration. And of course, the last component to check out is the spring reverb. They've even included the dwell control, which is usually located where the cable storage is on the back of a Space Echo. There's a little trim pot. Up until recently, I didn't even know this existed after owning a couple units. But really, if you increase the dwell, it changes the whole character, adds a little bit of grit in that reverb signal. So let's check that out. Let's move on to the Del-Verb and check out one of my favorite modes, the EP3. Now this one gives you all the subtle nuances that a real Echoplex would give you. Like, if you have a worn tape, you hear some dropouts and you get a little bit more warble. So let's start with a fresh closet classic Echoplex and then just move into something a little bit more worn and saturated. Let's increase the record level to that virtual tape. And we could increase the age and the wear and get a little bit more of that wiggly modulation. All right, so I'm having a little bit too much fun with this EP3 mode. Let's go down to DMM and get some classic analog delay and check out the two different kinds of modulation we have, just like the original unit with the mod knob. That was the vibrato mode, which was faster. Here's the chorus. And notice on each side of the dial, we have adjustability for the depth. Let's switch gears completely and go to precision delay mode. And this one doesn't self-oscillate at all, and it gives you some really cool, clean and pristine modulation within the tails of the repeats. One is like a flanger and one is a chorus. So it is a very clean delay, and if you want to warm it up a bit, you could use the high cut, which is on the color knob in this mode. Let's start with some classic stompbox compression with the dyna mode, and in this one you still have the regular controls that the pedal had, so it's only a compression amount and the output, but you could still feed it a bit more juice with that preamp knob. And let's feed it a hotter signal with the Solo 610 preamp knob. So it just makes playing really effortless. You don't even have to pick that hard, and as you can tell, there's a lot of volume on tap, and you get a bit more saturation with this mode. Let's compare that with the optical mode. We have a lot more control in this mode. We actually have ratio and release time, as well as the compression amount, and you could feed it harder just by increasing the preamp as well. And here's the FET mode, or the 1176, and in this one you get full control over the attack and release times, as well as all the other controls you've heard before. So let's try some different attack and release times and see how it really changes the feel and the aggressiveness of the compression. So that's a longer release time, and it's kind of holding on to the notes longer. Now let's play with the attack time. All right, so I've got my pinky slide and a guitar in open G, so let's try stacking a couple of different compressors here. So I'm going to start off on the right with the Dynacomp just to get that initial squish, and then to help the whole tone just kind of bloom and sound fuller, I'm using the 1176. And together you'll notice a lot more sustain, but also a little bit of those kind of energized harmonics, which is a good thing in this case. And you could really just play very lightly, and it just goes on for days. Well, that's a look at the Max, Galaxy, and Del-Verb from Universal Audio, and you can find all of the UAFX pedals right here on Reverb. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.